Ray, when you're ready to have a seat, we are ready to get started, I think.
Nice. Oh, okay.
Okay, so I am ready to, I've got everything recorded. So since I hit recording here. Now,
There, I see it.
and you go to that.
Unmuted that.
Yeah, okay. And, well, it unmutes the recording. They have to unmute themselves. Okay. And now if you want to see if it's actually recording, you can enable the meter.
Oh, and then you can see that.
For sure.
Teresa, are we okay to get started on your end, or are you guys doing some training? Okay. Gentlemen. Okay, welcome, everybody. We're happy to have you, those who are online and those who are in person for the Planning Commission work session meeting. We will officially open the meeting and we are going to discuss the historic overlay zone ordinance and flex space buildings. So I will turn the time over to Jake for that.
Okay, great. Do you want to discuss any of the other items? We could do a quick overview of those.
Yeah, I would actually like to do a quick overview of all three items on the agenda if we have a second to
Yep,
touch on them.
We do. Nothing is actually that heavy tonight, you could say. Okay, I'm gonna do a screen share here.
Oh, this last one, yeah.
It always does. It's okay. And I do it again. Okay, so on the agenda, we essentially have 4 items. And we'll start out with the rezone. Just do a run through of that. It's also a general plan. So this property, everyone knows where Ace Hardware is. Okay, so this is the property in question behind, and it is requested to be rezoned to commercial. It's currently rural residential, so that is large lots. And the applicant would like to do commercial. And when we were doing the general plan, this property didn't come up as commercial because it's off of State Street. There's not a lot of good good views of it. Well, there are views of it, but it doesn't have the straight frontage as State Street. So at the time, it definitely made more sense to be residential. But I really don't see any issue with it being a commercial property. I think it'll benefit the city. Morgan has limited commercial opportunities. We have State Street and we have Commercial Street, and that's about it. So going deeper off of State Street is a good thing. So I think that's good. This is where it is in the general plan as medium density residential. And so what we're proposing is that it be changed to general commercial. And then the applicant will move forward if it's approved with a commercial. Here it is in our transportation map. There's no significant road planned here. Here it is on the sensitive lands. It's in a zone 3 of the drinking water source protection. There's no requirements for it, and then it's also not in a sensitive lands with requirements.
Is the land behind that kind of to the west, is that largely undeveloped?
Yeah, I'll go there on an interactive map. That's not what the one. Okay, let's zoom in here. Yep, right here. This is it right here, this piece. So as part of this development is preserving access to this piece right here. That's something we've discussed a couple times already with the applicant, and staff would make sure of that. And I also want to go back, let's see. During this process has come up that we probably should rezone these 3 parcels to commercial. It won't slow the project up, but just for conformity. And this one is city-owned, the access piece is city-owned. Of course, the street is city-owned, and then this piece is not. It's just this tiny little island. Let me go there on them. Okay, no, that's our. Go here on the parcel map so we can take a look at that. Here we go. So this is the property in question. The ones that we're recommending at a separate process. I just bring that up because it's probably something you'll be thinking about. The city owns this piece. Of course, they own the road piece. And then there's this tiny little piece here that should be rezoned, but doesn't have to be on it. And then your question about access back here. And part of this development, we would have, there's an easement on this piece next door. And then the purpose of the city's property was access. And so whether it's a street or a drive with access to, that would be a requirement. Because this piece in particular is landlocked.
Make any sense to add or change our street?
Sorry.
Would make any sense to make our street map include that area? And show that on a street?
Well,
map?
if it was gonna be a street, then yes, but it may end up being just a private, a drive with the easement and access on it. And I think it actually may end up being more of a private street. So it doesn't necessarily have to show up on the street map.
The reason I said that's a pretty good chunk that's still, left there.
It is. It is.
Is that big chunk, is that big enough that would require more than just a street access or more than just access?
It'll depend what they want to do with it. And this developer that'll be in tonight has had conversations with them, and so we can't ask them about it. And to do a new street, it doesn't have to be on the street map. And the reason why I hesitate putting on the street map is because I don't know where it's going to go. At this point, there's a lot of options in here, but we do have, going back to the transportation map, we do show this street that the townhomes are on coming through and connecting. And we also show this connection up here. So we are planning for some connectivity up there.
I get it, there's that piece in the middle of it, there's nothing but access to.
And tonight would be just the rezone and general plan. If the applicant moves forward with a building project, which I assume he will, because that's what he said he's going to do, we would require access to that property. That's already been discussed. Gary, do you want to mention anything on that point?
No, it will pretty much depend on what the people to the west want to do as well. But it's a good question for the applicant. He was going to speak to the people to the, I call it west, but it's as close to west as you can get. He was going to talk to them and see what their desires were. So the city has to work out something with the applicant when it comes time for site plan review and putting a site plan together. The city has to work out something with the applicant to allow them to access across the city's property.
But that's not really affected by this zone change because they don't have any access now.
No.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. It's one of those
Exactly
things
right,
that
Roger.
it's important to know and discuss, but not, it doesn't change the outcome of a rezone.
Tonight is
correct.
only for the general plan to change it from residential to commercial.
And also a rezone from rural residential to commercial.
Okay, yep.
So, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So that's probably where we'll end up is when they come in for a site plan, we'll end up in doing an agreement with them of some sort for access to the property across the city's property, but that's another day, another time, so.
Jay Hackett, did you have something to add?
Can you,
Yep, sorry about that. To me, in my perception and kind of looking around things, like it seems to check the box, like you've got commercial in the front, you got commercial to the north, you got commercial to the south. You kind of got a buffer there of transitioning into high density housing and things like that. And so just like at the highest level, it just seems to make a little bit of sense. I think it could go either way for me. Like if the property owner were to come and say more of the townhomes kind of thing or more commercial kind of thing, seems like that space is kind of being blended right there. And so I was pretty much open to both of those. And it was just kind of the first request, right? Like if that's what they want to do with it, great. Like I didn't see a lot of reason that it was out of line for me personally.
okay,
Thank
should we
you.
move on?
I think so, unless anybody has any further questions on that. Can you turn your microphone on, please?
Do you want any clarification tonight? We just need to pass on city council, both of us, I think.
Okay, thank you, Ray.
That's correct. Okay, this other item, you remember last month, the Young Power Sports was in here for the conditional use, which we approved. He, up here, I broke out, I separated the to-dos from the rules and regulations that we put in place. And he is working on his to-dos. I wish we were a little faster, but he is working on them. And I have seen progress. But the big item is the landscaping. And I think they are willing to install landscaping. But we also have an upcoming and pending application for Ridley's. They've done the rezone, they've done the water. So over the next 6 months, Ridley's is going to be building and expanding, or at least putting in the application. And so his request is, he's asking, can I hold off on the landscaping? They essentially have a day-to-day or month-to-month lease with the Ridleys and not a time period. And so he's basically asking, can that be held off? Because what if they go in and put in $30,000 to $40,000 worth of landscaping and that has to be ripped out because of Ridley's? And because it's a conditional use, Planning Commission does have the authority to change that.
Is landscaping the only condition that he's asking for a continuance on, or what about like the tamping down the gravel and things like
He
that?
has actually sent in a report to engineering on that.
Okay,
And I've also asked him on the flooding to talk with Ridley's and come up with something. They could put in a drain box and actually run a pipe out relatively cheap. And that can be solved. That my conversation with him is that was the only one that I felt was reasonable, that he could come back to the Planning Commission and ask, and probably should have just done that while he was here. But so it's up to you. But I think because we put a 6-month time frame on this conditional use, then basically at 6 months we could be like, okay, we want to know, are you staying? We want these permanent improvements. Are you going somewhere else and Ridley's coming in and using their full property? Then, we'll see you somewhere else.
I would, I mean,
let's hear.
I would definitely give them that opportunity, that time frame, to be able to work with their neighbor to be able to do it, maybe even a joint project, you know, for their landscaping portions. I don't see any line of sight issues. I don't see anything that's, you know, degrading to the community. I even went by there when I saw our notes, and I didn't see any gravel that was leaking over to Ridley's parking lot. I didn't see anything that would be detrimental to safety or anything. So I think granting this, you know, having it go the 6 months is appropriate.
And I think tonight it would just be the one change on, and it could be at 6 months, we
Evaluate all.
we evaluate everything.
Yeah.
So Gary, do you want to add on to this? Are we okay there? Can he come back and ask for that to the planning commission? Where I think it was kind of silly on their part to not bring that up forthright, knowing that we all know that Ridley's is doing the expansion because they've been doing applications.
Yeah, so conditional uses are up to the planning commission, so if you think it's reasonable, you can go ahead and grant it. But you're right, I mean, it's something that was foreseeable and you take that into consideration, but it's, you can decide either way. You can decide to amend that condition.
Yeah. I guess that's the point, amending that condition. And again, we already established, we just gave them 6 months, not even a full year. So.
Right?
My thought would be, like, just put on hold that the 8-foot buffer along the side fence. I think we can pull on that. I wouldn't mind seeing them still do something in front in the park strip. Because I like still suggest.
Oh, yeah, that's
I'd
reasonable.
like to still suggest they do something in the park strip, but put on hold the 8-foot landscape between them and the neighbor along that fence, is my thought.
No, and you could look at it, there's three things. There's the park strip, you know, in between the curb and the sidewalk. That's gonna be there probably no matter what, and certainly landscaping. Then there's the 8-foot buffer at the front, that's required per code. And then we also have a 10-foot buffer because it's next to residential on the side. So you could look at doing that. I think that's a very reasonable approach as well.
And we haven't had any complaints or comments from the homeowners on the other side of the fence.
No.
Nothing more.
Yeah, and I mean, it went from an empty fence a fence area that wasn't being cared for to, you know, they've improved the property. You know, they've
Debatable.
made the ground down, whether you like power sports or not there, you know, at least it's not just a field of whatever. They've tried to improvement from the sake of improvement's sake. And so,
I call this a temporary improvement and fits well within conditional use permit guidelines. So I say we look at it in 6 months, have them report back, or we do, and we go from there. Keep it
So
simple.
the question tonight might be all the landscaping or what Ray is suggesting, which is just the park strip area
Park strip.
in between the sidewalk and the curb.
I really don't know what they would be able to do that would be, you know, thinking about.
Gravel in.
Well, it would require plants, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Wasn't there the question in our discussion about contacting UDOT about access to the street at some point if they decided they wanted
They
that?
decided they're not going to.
Okay.
They've told us that their access will be through the
Ridley.
Ridleys.
Okay.
And that requirement of a cross easement access is still required.
Because I didn't want to require them to put in landscaping that they might eventually rip out for a driveway.
They wouldn't have to do that, the driveway's there, the approach is there. They
So
wouldn't have to rip it out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
The
I'll have
approach
to
is
look at
there,
it.
so the approach, the park strip doesn't go through the approach.
Okay.
The approach is already there.
And if they're gonna change that approach, they'll have to go to UDOT
Yeah.
or even use it.
Okay.
Okay.
what would, just out of curiosity's sake, because we are talking temporary, right? They are working with Ridley's on doing landscaping of some type. We don't really want to require them to put in a water line or anything like that to water plants, but what would be an acceptable term by the city's point for, you know, like the plants in pots or whatever it is that they have to maintain?
If you look what's across the street,
Well,
it's gravel.
yeah,
you'd up put in gravel across the street. I guess
You could even,
I'm
you
okay
could
with
even
them.
do that.
I'm
We
okay with them
fabricate
duplicate,
gravel.
I'm okay with them duplicate what UDOT already did.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes.
so in our discussion, when they asked about this, there's two landscape requirements. One's the frontage
Yep.
and one's the landscape buffer. The landscape buffer is between a residential use and a commercial use is required. That's what they're asking to not require for this temporary. They were more than willing to do some landscaping in the front, and the landscaping company they talked to, there is water right there anyway.
Okay.
So they already have water.
Agreed to that. The only thing in question right now is the buffer.
The buffer, they got a quote and it was quite a bit because the landscape buffer is pretty specific on how many trees you have, how big it is, grass, all kinds of things on the buffer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good.
Can we move on to the next item?
Please.
Okay, this item is a discussion item only for the work session. You can bring it back if you want to, but it was intended as a work session. We have a number of codes that we'll be updating this year. And the next one on the docket is the historic overlay. Now that we've done the downtown plan, and purposely I crossed out overlay because what I'm proposing is that it not be an overlay, that it just apply to the historic area. Overlays are valuable, but in this case, it's unnecessary for the historic. So I just want to go through a few things. Tonight is not giving you the full code. I just kind of want to go over some of the basics of this.
Quick question
Yeah.
on that. Do we have, I know we do have a clearly defined historic district
We do.
right now.
You want to see it?
Is that based on the city's determination or is that based on like the National Historic designation? Because it can change if people make changes to their buildings. I guess that's my question is, could potentially this district change or is it set what the boundaries are?
Yeah, this online map is not working, so Teresa and I will have to get with our GIS guy. But it is, you can kind of see it right here, tiny. Commercial Street, not including the hotel because we removed that. And then 125 coming down.
Okay.
So it's just a small area. There's really kind of two big principles here. Preserve the distinctive historic buildings and place, and then create new buildings and experiences with the historic feel. That's kind of what we're going for. And as I've been working on this code, I've kind of been, they work together, but I've been we're looking at them a little bit differently. I did meet with the historic committee and they've prepared even a draft version of their code, and I've been pulling parts of that in to include it. So with this, protect the historic buildings and character, and Morgan is on the historic district. So to do that, extensive research was done, actual physical surveys, pictures, descriptions, research, and then the city working with the Morgan Valley Historic Society,
Well, either Morgan Valley Preservation or Morgan County Historical Society,
or both.
or both.
Working with them, it was submitted and accepted, and so it's part of the historic landmark. And you can look it up, it's cool. It's all on the National Park Service. We're on their website. So we do want to preserve that. And then this number 2, keep the pattern going. So we want to have the buildings on the street. It's pedestrian oriented. It's so easy to be on Commercial Street and just walk up and down and get what you need. And then, and also it is our downtown. So we want to continue to support the retail, the office, the services, the mixed use. So think about it in kind of these 3 realms. Existing buildings. So what are we looking at with them? They could be repaired, they could be restored, they could be adapted or even demolished. I mean, it can happen. I'm not suggesting or promoting it, but it is in the realm of possibility. And then new development, so site design, By massing, I mean building massing, the shapes of the buildings, facades, windows, doors, and then the public realm, the sidewalks, the street, the plaza. So this is how we're doing it now, and I'm not recommending a change, but if we are going to change it, now is the time. If it's a minor change, then it's a staff review. Signs are staff review. By the way, we have 2 sign applications in now, one for the Vallis Hotel, so they can put a sign on the scaffolding. And also Morgan Valley Drug or Morgan Drug has a sign in application in as well. So signs, repair like for like, meaning if they're just going to fix what they're already doing, that's great. Minor landscaping, lighting, doors, windows. If it's major, then a new building or additions, facade changes, material changes, then we bring that back to the planning commission. And then this highest scrutiny is if it's going to be a demolition. And I don't necessarily see a lot of that coming, but just because a building is old doesn't mean it's historic. Okay, what do you think about this process? Do you want to keep it the same? This is the only case where we bring building reviews to the planning commission, other than like the mixed residential overlay. Does the planning commission still want to have their hands on the commercial street? Welcome, Ty. Have some chips and salsa.
Nice. I think simple is good. And I mean, it's kind of why we have staff to be able to make decisions. I don't think any of those decisions, sometimes with signs, you get kind of a, there's kind of a mixed feeling on signs, but everything else, it's what husband and wife want, and that's what they fight over. So let them be. I think everything else kind of fits to where it needs to be. And then obviously the demolition point, it has to happen. And I've been involved in plenty of those. I understand when they're good and I understand when they're terrible. But I like where it's set up. Keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, it seems clear and it seems like it's working, especially because we've tweaked it recently with, moving sign reviews to staff and things like that. Is there an alternative that you would propose, or?
Well, the
a
alternative
better
would be
way?
staff does
Staff does everything.
all the review.
Does staff have a preference? Is there a reason why, are we slowing the process down somehow?
Well, yes, but maybe that's intentional. Meaning I mean, this is the baby of Morgan City, and so we want to have some eyes on our new buildings. In terms of facades and new buildings, we did approve the one that was going to go out in front of the hotel, the Domino's, that hasn't started construction. We also approved the
Reception center, yeah.
reception, which they're actually pausing to. So there hasn't necessarily, and there's not a lot of spots. Some architects are looking at building a new building on the alleyway. So there certainly is a lot of interest, but do you feel like all the facade changes happened before I got here with grants?
Since you worded it that way, I really don't understand why planning commission would need to be involved with demolition. Demolition's normally based on safety, not necessarily aesthetics. So I would hate for the staff to be waiting on planning commission, even in the 3 weeks or whatever amount of time frame before our next meeting, to be able to make a decision on demolition review. I think that should be handled by staff. We got a building department. I mean, that's what.
This is just for the historic commercial street.
Even if, I mean,
Okay.
so be it. It's.
Others?
If the rules and regs and ordinances are written
Microphone, right?
if the ordinances are written appropriately and we all agree on the ordinance the way it's written, I don't have a problem with the staff administering the ordinances. I think we will still be the ones that will approve and change and add to the ordinance itself. Maybe ordinance is the wrong word, but the historic committee guidelines. Once those guidelines are set by this group, I don't have a problem with staff to run with it.
So am I understanding correctly that you're saying you don't feel like the planning commission needs to be involved at any stage of this if the ordinances are?
I'm okay if we
Drafted
just
clearly.
take care of putting the ordinance in place and let the staff govern it based on what the ordinance says.
100%.
Yeah, but I do see the value if it is the baby of Morgan City, you know, it is an area that we want to protect. There is sometimes value in conveying that to the owners and having them come in and being able to show excitement and support for what they're doing, but also communicating to them, this matters to the community, this matters to the city.
That's a valid point. So at what point do we do that? And how much do we do of that?
Well, that's what this
Whatever
is.
gets your point.
New buildings, additions, maybe we move materials over to the staff.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Ty, do you want to weigh in? This is a work session, that's okay. Ty sits in on the historical committee more than I go.
So I think what we're looking for is process as much as ordinance, because the ordinance went from planning to building requirements really fast. So the historic preservation group is concerned about the integrity of the buildings, which goes almost straight to building requirements that we're not going to put in planning code, if that makes sense. And then they're referring to I can't remember the name of the standard now.
The National Park Service.
Yeah, so, well, we have the National Park Service designation, and then they have a standard to which they evaluate the level of historic value of a building. And so if you remodel, that's what they want to see, is that it gets remodeled correctly, that it doesn't diminish the value of historic character, right? And so from their perspective, I think that's what they're looking for the city to do is make sure you protect this, but through planning and zoning, we could say if it looks nice and if it hits current building requirements, but that's what they would refer to as that standard, so.
So to that point, is that still something staff could do rather than this group?
The thing about the historic existing buildings is there's a fair amount of judgment involved in it. It's not so black and white. And so that's where bringing it to the planning commission does two things. Gets extra eyes looking on it and also brings it to some public attention. I mean, it's up to people to be watching agendas and to know if they should come and or not, but it does that.
Basically, the difference is that you make a decision by committee or do you make a decision by staff? I don't see it being, and depending on who the staff is at the time, it's just the same as who's on the commission on any point in time.
Either way, it should be per ordinance. Whatever our ordinance says is what actually matters.
But I think our staff and the connection with building permits, we would probably maybe include the building official on a staff approval or review. And
yeah, I think that'd be good.
But personally, it's nice to tell someone, we don't know the outcome, but here's your process. And so they always have if they go to planning commission and or if they go to staff and they don't like what they hear, but it's hard to leave it all up to one staff member for the applicant's sake. They might say, well, that's your answer, but even if you come to a committee with a negative recommendation, there's still a chance that the committee's gonna act in favor of the applicant if they don't like what they get out of one committee, then what's my next step? And so it's a mix between process, but the muddy, I guess my whole point though is that it's a little muddy because it's beyond planning and zoning. That what the committee's really after is not a planning and zoning issue, and we're not gonna write historic code to outline every situation.
You're saying,
Yeah.
oh, they come to this committee, this group, that,
So,
what group should it go to?
so,
We
This-
function
this-
as a
this-
Board of Appeals.
This is,
for the
no, this is the group to go to, even though we're not
yeah, so I guess
architectural historians.
that might be a good Gary question. Gary, if I could put you on the spot, is just the administrative versus legislative authority of the planning commission, and if you feel like an administrative decision by the planning commission isn't so off topic on historic code. So typically you would just be saying to the planning commission, does this fit our ordinance? You're gonna read our ordinance and say, it doesn't say.
Mhm.
There's no way for us to develop code, and so could they act under administrative authority as a group to not administrative, sorry, more of a legislative act as the planning commission to say this is what we want, not what fits code.
Well, to me, the historic commission or this historic provisions have always been kind of like a conditional use.
Hmm.
You know, where there's some discretion in it, which, you know, when you do your subdivision approvals, there's an administrative decision, but it's tied to the ordinance. And so, you know, you pretty much are stuck with whatever you put in the ordinance. And if you don't like it, we change the ordinance. That's what we've always said about the subdivision ordinance. Whereas the historic district provisions are more like, almost like a conditional use that applies to one certain part of the city. And the planning commission, certainly if the city gives them the authority under the code to do that, they can make those decisions. You know, the planning commission can review it and make those decisions. And they would be appealed the same way that any other decision, administrative decision that the planning commission would make would be appealed, and that is to a land use authority, a land use appeal authority. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so I'm okay if the land use authority makes a decision. What I'm uncomfortable with is having a staff member take on it depends type of a question, right? So
Right.
like the staff should be locked into black and white, and if it doesn't show up, then they say, it depends, let's take it to planning commission, or let's take it to some group that has the authority to interpret codes. I don't want it to just be pinned to a staff member, so I'm coming from that angle.
So you would agree with the approach that we've been doing and we're proposing?
So
So, I guess,
I don't want to put too much, but as long as it's done by committee, so even if that's the administrative land use authority, if they have the ability, not a staff member.
Yeah, I would rather take the historic code to the planning commission
Planning
than
commission,
the
yeah.
historic. Well, one thing I want to mention that's part of this, the historic committee has one thing that they've really, and the historic committee has building owners and landowners. So to me, that gives it a little bit more foundation than just people that are very excited about history and historical buildings. These are actually building owners, a lot of them on Commercial Street. These are some of their ideas. And what they asked for is that on a remodel or a restoration of a historic building, meaning it's documented and considered historic, they actually provide historical evidence with photographs and research, and that the decision is based on that. And that's where this is very different than a conventional code says black and white, you can do this or you can't do this. What we're saying with the existing buildings is you want to restore it or change, you want to change it in any way, you got to do your own research and come back and prove to us how it used to be. And then you're trying to either restore it as is or as closely as compatible as possible. That's totally different than a new building. We have codes and standards, and that's easy to check the box and move through, and we'll end up with a historic feel and compatible building.
So the group is also a nonprofit, so it's not the Historic Society or county,
Not the County Historical Society, they're Morgan Valley Preservation.
right? And
There's some dovetailing.
right, but putting them in a position where an applicant goes to them for their homework and to bolster their case for what it is they're trying to do instead of, they're not asking them permission. Right, there's an incentive to say, if that's what you want to do, they have a group that they can go,
Yeah, and I see that as a resource and an option,
right?
not as a must do.
Right,
Yeah.
not as a must do, but if we get a recommendation from that group because they've done their homework and it's a positive recommendation on an application, I think that would carry a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I'm all for a positive recommendation from Morgan Valley Preservation as long as it's clear that they do not have any decision-making
Right.
authority.
What we're working on, they don't.
Yeah, they're very much, can I make a comparison to the Water Advisory Board? Where it's not mandatory because we have no requirement that you take it to that committee, but at the same time, it weighs heavily on the decision the Planning Commission makes. May weigh heavily, but the ultimate decision maker would be the Planning Commission. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, Ray.
Let me retract what I said before. The ordinance piece, yes, I think staff can do it. I had misplaced my mind that the historical preservation stuff is not ordinance. So the historical stuff still needs to come here since it's not ordinance. The pieces that are ordinance, I feel comfortable with staff doing the pieces that are ordinance. The
Well,
pieces that are historical need to come to this group.
What that could mean is that existing buildings come to the planning commission and new buildings are staff. You don't have to decide that tonight. So just keep that in mind.
I like the distinction that Ty made, though, or at least the way I understood it, that when it's black and white, staff can do it. If there needs to be an interpretation, let's bring it to the Planning Commission.
And that's where existing buildings.
Yeah.
So that's where this slide is. So if it's an existing building, the goal is to retain it, repair it, back to its original material, restore when evidence supports it. So we want them to do some research on it. This is not Disneyland with fake little facades. And then if they're replacing it, try to match the historical, which can be done, but it's expensive. Okay, new pieces, new buildings. We still want to match that historic feel, the facade on the front. Demolition again is kind of the last, but there may be reasons for that. Certainly safety or people, this is private property and people have rights with their own property.
But I like your note about documenting when preservation is not feasible. We've had historic buildings torn down and nobody thought to snap a picture first.
Oh, yeah, we don't want that.
That's a good point.
Okay, so the new buildings, think about this like this little diagram here. This is like a commercial street. We want to bring the buildings up to the street. This is called the build to zone or the front setback. 0 to 15. Now, you could say we just want it at 0. We want to push all the buildings up the sidewalk. But if someone wants to do a little courtyard, have an open dining area, a little square, then that's where this 15. And this isn't, nobody's putting parking in front. The parking's on the street. We definitely want a street facing the main entrance. That's one thing that's unique about Commercial Street. I mean, other main streets have it, but all of the main access for every building on Commercial Street faces Commercial Street. The off-street parking is all in the rear, so you get that nice street, and then a certain percentage of the frontage, the lot width. If it's a 100-foot lot, then 75% would need to be building. We want to really have that solid building facade. The maximum height, we're at 35 feet. Not necessarily proposing any changes, but if you think there should be any changes, now's the time to discuss it. A bay or a building width, 15 to 42. That's what our typical buildings are in this. And then maybe we have a maximum building width, because we don't want it to look like Walmart or even big boxes. So that's what defines a traditional Main Street, is having buildings that aren't super wide. And then what you'll have is like a variation trigger. So if the building is a bigger building, maybe it has multiple facades. Like take, for example, the Boxcar. Was that 2 buildings, the restaurant? Because it feels like it was 2 buildings. And so if that were excessive, what we felt was excessive per the code, then they would have to do 2 different facades, even though it's a single building. And that's a very traditional approach with main streets, to have 2, even though it's a single building, that at some point 2 different facades. Materials, brick and stone are the bread and butter. Historically, Morgan has painted wood. We can continue with that. It's not considered to be as high value as brick and stone. And by stone, there's also real stone, and then there's fabricated stone. These days, a lot of buildings are fabricated stone. And the facade that was approved for the reception center was a fabricated stone that looks like real stone, but is, of course, concrete with color and texture materials. Metal accents, matte finishes, natural material colors. And if they want to do something wildly different, then they'd have to show photos of a different building. Okay, this is something that John, you remember John Jansen that works with me. He's actually been helping me on the code as well. And this is something that was done in a different city for a historical downtown. They basically said, and this drawing was originally prepared by a historical architect, and the idea is that you have to incorporate so many of these features in a new building. I removed the display window because that's pretty much non-negotiable. Every new building should have that. But it could be that they do like, I really like the bulkheads down here at the bottom. We have some of those in Commercial Street. Also, awning is nice. The lintels coming in underneath. The window hoods, the sashes. These are just like different features of it. And so this is something I want to kind of work with and modify, but that way on a new building, they're bringing back some of these historical features
I
we've
like
had.
this idea, but I have a question.
Yeah.
What year are we shooting for?
Yeah.
Because historic, the architecture is going to have changed dramatically over the lifespan of Commercial Street.
Yeah, we have to throw the year out because
Because our pioneer-ish buildings, and I use that term really loosely, are much more plain than this, but they're historic.
that's true. And maybe we really modify this to go that way.
And that's a struggle I've had for the last 25, 30 years, is historic like what it used to be 50 years ago on Commercial Street? Or is it what people think historic should look like.
50
I-
years since 1976, so.
I, and I don't, or 100 years ago.
All of us are
Do,
historic, all
do,
of us
do we
are
want it to look
historic,
like
I would
Commercial
say.
Street did 100 years ago? Or do we want it to look like a modern architect thinks, thinks historic looks like? I don't know the answer to that.
Scaffolding historic.
It's true. That's true.
To your point, it's similar concept.
Well-
What are the answers to help guide us on that, please?
Yeah, so,
Because again, also, everything except the hotel on Commercial Street never was 2 stories. Never was.
right.
No.
On new buildings, we do want 2-story. I mean, it's the highest and best use of the land, but it doesn't have to be a single story. Think about this, the big thing is the glass, the doors, some architectural features. Like that's when you know you're looking at something that's historically compatible.
Just out of curiosity, would the venue building that we just approved meet this standard?
It's pretty close. It definitely has the entrance and it has the materials.
Have front windows? I
It
couldn't
does have front
remember.
windows. It does have front windows. It has the materials. And some of it is just how the detail at the top of the building. So,
I don't know though, because that's where we get into, like you said, this isn't Disneyland. It gets fakey historic. We want it to look compatible, but we don't want it to look fake.
Good luck.
well, and maybe we come up with, we could look at all the buildings and say, what is every building on Commercial Street that's older than 75 years or 80 or 100? What does it have in common? And then we could just require some of those items and they're as a baseline.
Actually, to me, I don't mind that. I quite like that. But it's not what Morgan was 100 years ago. So back to my question, are we trying to go develop what Morgan was 100 years ago? Or are we trying to go with something we like that looks what we think is historic?
We're going towards a historic feel. That's the word we're going towards.
I wish Morgan looked like 100 years ago.
I mean, down Ogden, 25th Street, they have new construction going on and they're just trying to match that feel. In Salt Lake, the Trolley Square district, they're going for that.
Just make you aware of the time, Jake.
Okay, yep, I'm almost done. We'll work on this idea and come back. A big part is, this might be something that we can agree on, is glass, because we wanted to have that retail Main Street feel. First floor, 50% glass minimum, second floor, 25%. Clear glass, just windows go a long way. One thing is on landscaping, none of the buildings on Commercial Street have landscaping other than the hotel. Our landscape standard is 10%. Do we require that on new buildings because they could do landscaping behind? Or do we require planters and window boxes and still dress it up? But that's easier to do.
I'm all for planters and window boxes.
You are, okay.
I even have that. I don't
Okay.
like taking care of them, but you know.
That's what I was gonna say. Can we mandate that they keep flowers in them?
Some of the, that's why I don't come.
It's the microphones.
No, because I can't keep from talking. That's why I just move myself. But like the lots that we're talking about that are left, like the whole alley's been landscaped.
That's
And,
true.
and out in front of Commercial Street, we put the planter boxes in the sidewalk, so I'm not as concerned about, if your setbacks are gonna be like right up to the sidewalk or whatever, we've
Yeah.
done a lot to beautify the area. So to do that plus another 10%, doesn't make,
Yeah, and again,
not
that,
worried
that's
about it.
another reason why, there's a lot of reasons why the historic district is viewed differently than the rest of the city. And parking is one big reason, is that we're not requiring new parking if for all commercial uses. If it's residential, they need to have a stall per unit. But for commercial uses, we have the shared parking on Commercial Street and on the alley. Signs, wall signs, they're going on the buildings, blade signs, also called projecting, where they come out. That's what we're seeing. That's one of the unique features, because you're walking down the sidewalk and you see it rather than from the car. So that makes it window signs, menu boards, and then no pole signs, which is why we removed the hotel. But also it wasn't a historic building. Okay, that's it. We're going down the right path.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will.
Thank you.
So Jake, needs reasons. Are they? Are they?
Well, there's just one rezone, one property. Well, it's the general plan.
Oh, so one is top of these on and one is.
You were thinking the gala lobby, like the most. Were you gonna tell her you wanted to fit? Or how to do the motion? Okay, so the general plan would be a recommendation
To the city
to make the
council.
change of general plan, if that's what you choose, and then the reason would be recommendation of city for approval.
Contingent upon the
Yeah, contingent.
amendment of the general plan. Gotcha.
All that.
I won't remember that in 10 minutes. We'll fumble through it. Okay,
And this is yours.
and I'm assuming we need to do.
Or this is my last day.
Public hearings.
Last
Again, single public hearing.
I'll still get to see
And
it.
I think it should be two.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, those two are
Two votes.
perfect. Okay, I might turn to you if I have questions.
Yeah, I already have order about you. I told her all of that, right? This is sort of fun.
Did we
Thank you.
lose Becky again?
So Becky is like, so she had a problem with an emergency with her grandkids. She came here and then she saw that we have
Had
5
enough.
members, we have, this is okay if I leave, she said yes. And so I'm trying to come back, it's just
No.
Yeah, we're
No.
good.
with Jay and Dave on. Yeah,
I'm just glad it wasn't another emergency.
Yeah.
And-
Grab together.
And on the
Had a really busy day.
conditional use, you would just make a motion to amend the existing conditional use.
Can we start it at the day that it was originally approved, I think?
Yeah, you're not changing the approval of the conditional use, you're just changing one of the conditions, if you choose.
Yeah.
Welcome, Lance, thanks for coming in.
Just gonna say, well, off
Have some, it's Teresa's last day, no, please do, we're partying. Yeah, you can join the party.
There's no doubt.
We are ready for the Planning Commission General Session Meeting. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, those who are joining us online and those who are present. Just want to remind you that this is a public meeting and it will be live streamed on YouTube, and a recording is available there and on the city website. So our first order of business tonight is the approval of minutes from the July 21st, 2026 Planning Commission meeting. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from July 21st, 2026.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have a second on that motion? Ray, a second from Ray. All in favor, please indicate. Okay, and that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we will move on to the agenda items. Agenda items 1 and 2 tonight are both public hearings, and I believe we can open those and make them one public hearing on both issues. But before we do that, I see that the applicant is present. So this is for, well, it will require amending the general plan. So that's item number 1. And then item number 2 would be amending the zoning designation on the parcel. So would the applicant like to step to the podium? And actually, Jake, do you have any background information to start with? Or,
Sure. I can just kind of
okay.
do a high-level
So if
summary.
you would do that, a brief summary, and then we'll let the applicant tell us anything he wants us to know, and maybe we'll ask questions from there, then we'll open the public hearing.
Okay, the property is 0.97 acres, 253 west, 1550 south. It's located right behind the Ace Hardware and near the townhomes. There's the property right there. And the access to the property is through a city-owned property. And there's also an easement that comes in next door. And those run, the easement runs with the land. So whoever owns it runs, and that continues. There's the parcel again. The current zoning is rural residential. And the proposed the application is to change it to general commercial, which matches what we have on State Street. In the general plan, future land use, it's designated as medium density residential. This was done because of, at the time, the best knowledge we had was that it would probably end up being residential. It's got townhomes next door. It doesn't have direct access onto State Street or commercial corridor. However, there are views of the property from State Street. And so it really is a property that could go either way. There are no issues going commercial. On the transportation plan, we do have the street with the townhomes continuing through, but we don't have a street necessarily on this property. But as was discussed in the work session, the city and staff would require some form of public and private access through the property to adjacent development. On the sensitive lands, it shows up as an other zone X, and there's no requirements. I verified this with staff. And then also on the drinking water protection, there's no specific requirements as well. As mentioned also earlier, following if this were approved through city council, then the city should bring back these 2 properties and change them for zoning and the road. Yeah. So here's a drone photo of that from last year. So some trees, relatively flat. Here's the access piece through. And then photo from a couple weeks ago. So access coming through here, and some of the easement is on this area, I believe. Okay, does that work for a summary?
That's great.
Anything in addition?
Questions for Jake?
I think the only question I saw, and I may be overstepping, I saw a sidewalk coming out of the townhomes. Is that something that would be continued into the property toward Ridley's and that?
Yes, so the city can require that we're working with the applicant. That could be part of our negotiation, is that maybe they help with that improvement. This would be through some kind of easement or a leasing of the property to the applicant for usage.
Thank you.
But yeah, we definitely need to bring that sidewalk and connect it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Nye, would you introduce yourself to us and let us
You already
know-
got me right there.
let us know if there's anything else we need to know.
Okay, I'm Ryan Nye. The address first, that's my home address.
Oh,
So I don't know how that
Thank
got
you.
on there.
well, it's an
So it doesn't
application,
have
sorry.
an address
So-
yet.
I've got
So-
State Street down and some of the other ones, but.
Yeah, so
Okay.
not a big
It
deal,
is
but-
275 right there. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, looking at it, the current zoning is rural residential, like Jake said, and it's 0.97 of an acre, which doesn't meet rural residential. So as it's currently zoned, it actually needs to change. So looking at it from the visibility from State Street, man, it actually has really good visibility, have good access there, be able to go back in and turn around and just be a good commercial piece of property. So that was the thinking behind it. Instead of more townhomes and doing that, we're pretty limited, as you know, on commercial space, especially commercial that you don't have to tear a house down and this one with good visibility still. So I think it's a good spot to have some commercial there. But so that was the thought behind it. So yeah, we've talked in a meeting there about the access, keeping access with the neighboring property, and doing that, so it's not landlocked. And we can discuss all of the actual roadway and everything like that down the road, but, yeah, any questions?
And just a reminder, actual building and site approval is a separate process that follows.
Right. Any questions from any commissioners? Commissioners online?
No.
Okay, thank you. I believe we are ready then to open the public hearing. And as I said, we can do a public hearing for both items number 1 and number 2 at the same time. So we will entertain a motion to open that.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we go into public hearing for item 1 and item number 2 this evening.
Thank you. Do we have a second on that? A second from Ray. Okay. Yeah. Public hearing is open. Do we have any public who would like to step to the podium and make a comment? It does not appear that we do, so we will entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Oh, anybody online? Thank you, Ray.
Good call.
We have no public online or any comments.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we leave public hearing.
thank you. Do we have a second? I think I forgot to vote last time. All in favor indicate. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. With that, we will need to do 2 separate motions on these. For item number 1, if we agree, we are looking to pass the motion to amend the general plan onto the city council with a favorable recommendation. And for the second one, we are looking to amend the zoning designation from rural residential to general commercial, but that will be contingent upon the amendment of the general plan by the city council. So if anyone feels comfortable making those motions one at a time, we will accept them.
Give
One comment from staff, and you could just reference the parcel number. I've got it here on the screen. I just looked, the county record didn't have the property address, so I guess that's where that showed up. But just do it by the parcel.
And the parcel numbers on the agenda are correct?
Yes.
Okay,
it a shot.
jump in.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation for approval of ordinance 26-14, amending the general plan map on parcel 00-00057-05520, approximately 90.97 acres, from residential mix to general commercial.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second from Ray. Any discussion on the motion before we vote? Okay, with that, all in favor, please indicate. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Yep, I saw. Okay, we will accept a motion on item number 2.
Okay. This one I might mess up on, but like to make a recommendation for approval for ordinance 26-15, amending zoning designation on parcel 00-00057-5520, approximately 0.97 acres, from rural residential RR to zoning designation general commercial, contingent upon the
City council.
Yeah,
city council. Thank
the
you.
amendment of the general plan by
Amendment
the
of the general
city
plan
council.
by the city council. Good luck putting that down.
And just to clarify on that one, we are moving to amend the zoning designation contingent upon that favorable recommendation, correct?
Thank you.
Do we need to clean that language up, or is that good enough?
You got it. You got it.
Okay, okay, perfect. Do we have a second on that motion? Second from Ray. Okay, any further discussion or clarification on that? All in favor, please indicate. Perfect, and that passes unanimously as well. And from those online, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you.
I tried.
Ray, did you look at my notes?
I just want to comment. Mr. Nye, thank you for bringing this to us. I think it's a great addition, great change. I think commercial fits her very well. I want to thank you for bringing that to us. I think it fits what we need, what we want, so thank you.
Miss Teresa.
We all will.
Second.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Thank you.
All right,
And-
we will move on to item number 3, which is a request by Young Power Sports to amend the conditions on the conditional use permit for the property located at 273 East, 300 North. This was the conditional use permit granted on July 21st, 2026 in the Planning Commission meeting. So if the applicant would like to step forward, introduce yourself. We will follow a similar procedure here. We'll let Jake give us a little bit of background, and then we may have a few questions for you.
Lance Bearclough from Young Power Sports.
Thank you.
Been here once before.
We'll make you introduce yourself every time.
That's okay. I like it. Should I go?
Yeah, so this was conditional use last month. And what I have here on the screen is essentially the conditional use had some to-dos by the applicant, and then also had some rules and regulation. And applicant has come back expressing that there's a little bit of difficulty with some of the landscaping installation due to the uncertainty of Ridley's doing an addition. They've done the rezone, which we've done here at Planning Commission and City Council. Also, they've received their water approval, and they've shown preliminary site plans to us. So it's not just a rumor at this point. They are doing something, and they do own this property. And in terms of the landscaping, what is required is landscaping in the park strip, landscaping at 8-foot buffer or distance behind the sidewalk, the entire frontage, and then also a residential buffer running on the south side of the property or next to the residential, the entire corridor with trees and landscaping. And his concern is that maybe putting in improvements that could be ripped out shortly. And my understanding is they don't necessarily have a long-term lease with the owner, Ridley's, for this property. And I said, well, if you want to discuss that condition, you can bring it back to Planning Commission and make your argument. and see what they say.
So that's kind of where we're at. What we're asking for is just a kind of a 6-month kind of ease off. We're happy to do a lot of the items, the landscape, a couple bids from the recommended landscapers we got were $25,000 for trees and so forth. We don't know, what Ridley's has planned long term. We're kind of there, at whatever they're thinking down the road. So we would just like to say, hey, we want to improve it. We will at some point. We just want to get our footing on the ground to figure out how long we're going to have it before we spend that, that kind of money. But, Ridley's has to do the improvements anyway. It's owned by them. Eventually, they're going to have to work with the landscape and the water, and we may participate in that. I don't know at this time, but my guess would be we want to help out and be a part of that frontage if we can. So, but we need a little time to address their construction, what their needs are, and be able to communicate with them. So, the items on the list, we really went forward and tried to comply with all of them, but that one we're kind of getting stuck on a little bit. So.
Okay. And just for clarification, are you looking to amend the condition on all of the landscaping or just the buffer between the residential?
I was going to ask for all of it, but I'm open to, we talked about maybe just the bare minimum, putting a tree up front, maybe some dry scape, they call it, or what, something like that. Just to, it looks great right now. If you need, a little additional, I've kind of went around and looked at dry scape everywhere from, the freeway standpoint and stuff. It's not terribly expensive to do it, if you just dry scape it and make it look like the rest of the frontage, if it's a tree or two. My really concern is water, you got a plumbing water and you want us to water, on a parking lot. And I get it, but it's a lot.
Ray, did you have a question?
My thought would be to at least ask you to do some of the park strip.
Okay.
Whether it be, rock or whatever you just want to do. And a lot of examples around on State Street to do with the park strip.
Okay.
Between the sidewalk and the curb.
Just
would be-
rock it in.
Would
is
be
it?
my intention if you do something with that to dress up to make it look a little nicer.
Well,
the
I
park
don't know if we have a picture or not, but there's a driveway, so there's cement right there. So there's a
not
little
very
bit of a
much
park
park.
strip and a little bit of park strip. If you're okay with that, I'd
There's not very much
prefer to
park
leave
strip.
the drive where it's at for irrigation and stuff.
That'd be my thought.
Okay, I'm happy to, I'm happy to do that.
As far as the buffer strip, I'm okay to put that on hold or delay that, whichever term makes sense for 6 months. And then we'll look at it in 6 months and see where you and Ridley's are at. If you're going to make it a more permanent thing, then we could consider what we want to do for that buffer strip.
That would
But
be-
as myself, I'm okay to put the buffer strip on hold for 6 months.
Thank you.
But
Yeah,
I'd like to request something be done with the park strip.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got the nice vinyl fence right there. We've been weeding it and taking care of it, so hopefully it looks inviting, We see a lot of kids run through there, but we'd like to see more customers.
Thank you, Ray. Any other comments or questions?
I think I'm ready to make a motion after our discussions and.
If you are, I would recommend commercial grade weed fabric, decorative like rock, and maybe some boulders. That's not too much to add a little bit of variety, and then staff approval. So we get a chance just to kind of run through what he's doing. That's up to you.
Sorry, I lost my notes here. Like to make a motion that we do agree to extend the conditional use permit.
Amend.
Okay. Amend the conditional use permit that was dated July 21st, 2026, to include the landscaping of the front portion along State Street with commercial graded grading, fabrication and that with boulders, rockery and that to be approved by staff. I'd make a recommendation that we make that amendment.
I think we might need to indicate that we are
Putting the
we
rest of
are
the buffer
holding
strip, you know,
the,
coming on the
yeah,
buffer
the
strip.
condition to do the landscape buffer.
Coming on the buffer strip.
So,
The landscape buffer and then also the landscape frontage.
Be
Okay.
put on hold for 6 months.
okay.
So the landscape frontage and
Buffer.
the buffer to be extended for that 6 month, be amended to that 6 month timeframe.
Be put on hold for the 6 month time frame.
That's what I meant. To be put on hold for the 6 month timeframe.
Thank you.
Sorry, Gary.
Did we
You're
get it
okay.
eventually, Gary?
You
Okay.
did. You got it. You got it all.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate your courage. Well done. Do we have a second for that? We have a second from Ray. Before we vote, just by way of discussion, I want to clarify and make sure that I understand correctly that the intention is not that you would add any more, square footage to the what do I want to call it?
Park strip.
Thank you. I'm to say most strip, to the park strip, but just that we clean up what is already existing.
Make it
They,
look
they
fancy.
could use some cleanup. I
Make
agree.
make it look nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have another question.
Yes.
Is that the only item on the list that you want us to readdress tonight?
You know, actually, there was a,
Because we're ready to make a motion. If there's something else we need to talk about, we're gonna do it now.
Well, we've already made a motion,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, we
I
Motion
think
on
we're
the
good,
floor.
right?
Yeah.
but we haven't voted yet. Yes.
All your other items you have in progress.
That's correct, yeah,
You're good.
yeah.
Okay, so with that, we have a motion on the table. We have a second. Any further discussion before we take a vote? All right, all those in favor, please indicate. And that motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Okay,
Can I-
that was our last item on the agenda.
Can I make an observation?
I got comments coming from both directions, so
Before we
Chris, then
end-
Ray, yes.
Before we end, if it's okay, I know staff,
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
No, I mean,
No, he wanted to make a comment to the applicant.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's
Just
back.
that, Chris?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
Ray, go ahead.
I'm not very astute at this. I'm not a salesman. I'm not an advertiser. But as I have looked at that lot,
Uh-huh.
my wonderment would be if you want to space those four-wheelers out a little more. Because when I drive in there, it's cleared up front and the back's empty.
Yeah,
To me, it'd be more appropriate if the whole thing was more uniform rather than the back being empty and the front being cluttered.
yeah, that's what happens when you let salespeople arrange your lots, so.
Just an observation from a non-salesperson.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't quite sure how much inventory we had. We're a little bit light, but you're right, we probably could space it out and look a little more fun. So-
Shelved it like a grocery store.
That's
Move
right.
Everything to the front.
Yeah, there we go. Talk to Ridley's.
Anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry.
Okay,
Thanks, Lance.
Chris, you were saying.
I was just gonna bring up, thank you on behalf of the planning commission. I know city staff has received retirement, congratulations for Teresa, but that's an amazing career that you've spent here with Morgan City, and a big thanks on behalf of the planning commission.
Yeah.
So
Thank you very much, Teresa.
Second that, third that.
Weird for, almost 19 years and to say goodbye, but I've totally enjoyed planning and zoning, believe it or not. Some people just like, I would never have your job. That's incredible. I would hate that. But I've really enjoyed the conferences I've gone to, the people I've met. We have fantastic developers in the city that we get to work with and enjoy staff and you guys. I did want to introduce my
Please.
person that's going to be taken over, and this is Jessie, and I'll let her talk for a minute. And she is here on her own time because her data hire will be August 31st.
August 31st.
August 31st.
Yeah. He's here for the love of planning.
Well, no, more for the love of not being left without instruction, to be honest. So, creating a little bit of chaos in my life to make sure I get time to train under Teresa, because she's obviously done a really good job and I want to learn from her and not be just dropped into it. So, yeah, I'll be here kind of like every other day for the next 2 weeks is what I'm planning. And then my first day will be August 31st and her last day will be September 1st. And hopefully I'll learn enough to make it seamless, but I really look forward to working with you guys and I'll try my best to do just as good of a job as she's done.
Well, welcome. Thank you.
And next week, the city is having a big hurrah party for Teresa. That's on Thursday at noon. Is that right?
Yep, Thursday,
Yeah.
the 27th at noon.
Right here in this room. So you're all invited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Teresa. It's Jay online. I appreciate you. I sent Venmo money so you can party. I get to be in Lake Powell while your party goes on. So
Yeah.
sorry I can't be here, but appreciate you. You've been fantastic.
So,
Thank you, Jay.
Teresa, you know how many years you and I have worked on this stuff together? Long time, Teresa. So you will leave a void in what I have had done.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you very much.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Hey, thanks.